And we are live. Well, that's Christian Anarchist, number 44. Not going to get too much into the sing-songy thing. I've already tortured your ears enough last time. So we're just going to go straight to it. Welcome to Ask Christian Anarchist. I am your host, the Christian Anarchist. Now, welcome aboard to the show. I'm sure it's nice to see some wonderful people out there. And apparently, let me see if the number is still there. Yeah, apparently 4 people. Oh, now it just got down to 2, but it may go back up to 4 because I know sometimes it glitches out for those refreshing the screen. Oh, well, who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyways, point being, if you are a noob to this, let me explain how this works, new kid on the block. We have different ways you can interact. So first of being, if you're watching this, you see that live chat right there. Yeah, you can submit your question on there. I'll try to read it and get to it. You can join the Discord chat, which you can find the link in the description to join the Ask Christian Anarchist Discord. Go to the part that says show questions only. Submit your question there. I'll do my best to answer the question through there. Then you have Twitter. I already tweeted this out. And that is, if you want to join, then just mention me at Cristo_Anarcho and mention the hashtag AskCA, and we will get you started with that question from y'all's end on Twitter. And then, of course, we have coming in here. Oh, who wouldn't want to try to engage into maybe just a simple question or even a raw debate on Ask Christian Anarchist? Yeah, just go to Google Hangouts, ask me for the link, and I'll try to get you invited and get it in here. Therefore, begin the conversation. But it has to be through there so I can double check, make sure you aren't a troll. Understandable. Because there are people that come in that are snipers, trolls, porn bombers, all these other things. We're trying to do our best to avoid that. So that's how you can get in. So you got some questions, feel free to do so. And yes, Steve, you may invite Dr. Rhodes. So that being said, the way this works is that it's a first come, first served basis. So if you come in, if you're coming in here, you're most likely going to get your questions answered, but it's also going to go down a line of whoever comes in first and then comes down later on the line. So right now we have a few guests, and we're going to start with Preston, who came in first. Then we're going to get to Steve. So we're going to start off the show with this. So Preston, how are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. Right now, I don't really have any questions, so you can kind of skip me if you want.
All right, then we go on over to Stevie.
Can I go after Justin here?
Sure.
I'm just doing something real quick. Hi, by the way, hi Justin.
Hey, what's up?
All right. So Justin, you got a question before we get to the Discord questions?
Sure. Well, one question I have is in regards to your view on hell. Do you have like a strong view about hell either way? Like, I guess like the world of hell, does it exist? Are there details that we do know from the Bible?
I mean, I believe there is a hell, yes.
Okay. Is there like a purgatory state for saved people and then?
No.
Okay. Do you believe in this state of this world where there's like they call it like Abraham's bosom or paradise that is somewhere?
Yeah, Sheol, yes.
Sheol is in the earth somewhere.
It's not in the earth. It's a spiritual place of where they would reside at. It takes upon the name, though, the place that would be in the earth, which is Sheol, meaning the grave. So they call it that, and yet it had a spiritual concept. Yet there were also Israelites that believed that it was in the earth, just like also that they believed that there were 4 pillars keeping the flat earth above on the surface of the waters and such. So yeah, the Israelites had this kind of concept in mind, but in regards to the spiritual aspect of what the truth is, it was simply something that is in a spiritual sense, like heaven and earth is. It's not of this world. It's something that's far beyond that.
So why don't you just call it heaven?
Why not call Sheol heaven?
Yeah, instead of calling it the grave, just call it heaven, since they already have that vocabulary ready for it.
No, because the places are totally different.
Well, how would someone assess that? Like,
Because if that's the case, then it's a contradiction. Because if Jesus went to Sheol, and we're going to assume that's heaven, then why then does he then go rise only to then ascend to what you would assume is another place that there's a place that he's already been to?
yeah, so then the idea that it would not be from Earth would not make sense. I mean, if it's not from Earth, then him resurrecting or coming from the grave would be nonsensical, because you believe it's not on Earth,
Yeah, like hell isn't on earth.
and you believe Shell is the grave. The grave isn't on Earth either.
Sheol isn't on earth either, yeah.
So then, did he resurrect, come from, or come up from Sheol?
Yeah, he
descended.
he resurrected as his spirit came out of Sheol and
Like
rose
from
from the physical grave in which he was in.
So his spirit came from out of this world, went down to the grave to come back up.
All right, listen, because I don't think you're catching me. So the issue about Sheol is that there's a compartment, there's a place that has two compartments in it. One for the place of the righteous, which is also entitled of the bosom of Abraham, then the realm for the wicked. These are places that they would be at until the day of judgment comes, in which Sheol would be casted into the lake of fire, which would be hell. And at this point, Jesus is there during the 3 days and 3 nights. And as a result, once the time is up, he leaves that place. His spirit enters the body that had been crucified and put in a tomb, and he rose out of the tomb.
Okay, yeah. So he dies. His spirit goes to some place not on Earth, and then he goes to Sheol, which is some place that has the wicked and the righteous, and then I don't know what he does there. I guess he releases them. Then he decides to go back to Earth with a resurrected body. Now, my question is, so you don't believe that hell is in the earth, or at least back in the Old Testament?
I think that hell is a place that exists, but it doesn't get talked about within the Old Testament, no.
Well, so
because that's not the focus of the theology of the Old Testament.
So then when did people in Sheol move to in hell in the earth?
They go there whenever the time comes of the day of judgment, because it says that that death and Sheol will be casted into the lake of fire.
So no one's under the earth in hell?
No one's in hell right now at this moment. They will be, though, if they die and are wicked and unrepentant. They will be in the realm of the wicked, and they will be among the numbers of those people that will be casted into the lake of fire along with Sheol.
So the wicked, are they, so they're not burning in hell?
Or no, they don't physically burn in hell. That's a later man-made concept.
Oh, okay. So in your view, both the wicked and the righteous are in Sheol. I guess they're just in a waiting room. I mean, isn't that what you call purgatory?
No, because the issue is that there's no one in the compartment of the righteous in Sheol right now. The only people that will be in Sheol at this moment will be those who are wicked, because Jesus says that he brought those that were also from the grave, that they were resurrected as well. including the saints. So they reside in heaven with the Father, and at this point now with him, Jesus. And anyone now who is wicked goes into Sheol and will be there until the day of judgment. But those who die and are faithful will go to heaven.
Okay, I mean, it just sounds like Christianity, and now I'm a Christian, but it seems like the majority of
Well, I would
Protestants.
disagree on that from the perspective of a Seventh-day Adventist.
That's fine. That's another subject. But as far as like Protestantism, it seems like everyone has this bizarre, confused understanding of hell. And since everyone is so confused, no one really cares to like correct each other because they're like, well, you're confused. I'm confused. Let's not talk about it. So, for example,
Well, we're talking about it right now, aren't we?
yeah, because I'm talking about it. So, for example,
And I've talked about it before.
Sure. So, for example, there are like people, like the vast majority of Christians believe that there are people burning in hell at this very moment. Now, you, under the process of logical, you had to be consistent with what you were saying. You couldn't say that they're burning in hell at this moment, which is a contradiction towards most and every Christian.
I don't say that they burn. I don't say they burn in hell at this moment.
Yeah, no, you said, but most Christians do.
Yeah, and they would have a wrong concept, just like those Christians that say God is all loving. Yeah, there are people that I would disagree with on that because I care more about what the Bible says.
Okay, so then how would you know how would you know that the people in Sheol are in the same place with the people, that's actually righteous?
I'm sorry, say again?
How do you know that the people in hell, like, or the bad people, the wicked, are in the same place as the righteous? Where scripture tells you that?
I don't understand your question. So you're saying, how do I know they're in the same place as that the people in hell are in the same place as the people of the righteous?
Excuse me, let me say, how do you know that the wicked are in the same place with the righteous?
They're not in the same place.
You said they're in this world, a Sheol world.
Yeah,
That's not of this
yeah,
earth in
yeah,
heaven.
and that's separated into two components, so that they are separate. They're not in the same place. They're in the same, what you would call realm, which is in Sheol, but they are not in the same place, because we see this in the parable for the rich man and Lazarus, and that is exactly the language we see elsewhere in different Jewish writings about Sheol, is that when it's described the same kind of exact concept with what we see in the parable, that it's not that one's in heaven, one's in hell, they're in Sheol, and that's how they're also able to see each other in that bridge and in that gap. They just can't cross over to it.
Now, if you take that parable literal, as you seem to be saying, aren't you contradicting yourself in saying that that parable is literal because those people? I
I'm
mean,
not
at least
saying
the
that
rich
I'm
man
not
was
saying the
burning.
parable is literal. It's using some concepts that Jews would be familiar with,
But
which we don't just start completely fictional in parables and just expect everything to go around. We use an analogy of something that we're familiar with. That way, human understanding can then be thought about. That'd be like suggesting that the seeds that Jesus mentions in his parable are actually fictional seeds. That, oh, there's no such thing as seeds. Seeds don't exist.
no,
We
I'm
don't
not
use
saying
that kind of logic. He uses things that the Jews would be familiar with, and one of them would be the concept of Sheol.
Yeah. So then, when it comes to the rich man, wasn't he burning?
The rich man, where is he burning? I don't see where it says he was burning.
Yeah, he asked for Lazarus to put to add a drop of water so that he can quench his tongue because he was in fire.
In what?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No, what's the verse? You say in fire, but I don't recall the verse saying in fire.
Okay. Well, if we go to Luke 16, clearly claims, here it goes, and go there, 16. All right, so then
Mm-hmm.
All right, Luke 16, verse 22. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being tormented, and seeth Abraham afar, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried, said Lazarus, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. Send Lazarus that he may dip the finger of his, excuse me, he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in flames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said that they won't be burning in hell, or at least they won't be burning in Sheol. And you take this
because the language is that they uses fire and flames, but the language also implies darkness, pure darkness. Can you see? Passage? Is there light whenever fire is around?
Yes.
Okay, so then part of the Bible contradicts itself because it says, "And there will be pure darkness."
Well, not here.
Well, in other places it does.
Well, other places
could be there will be darkness.
Well, are you saying it's going to be that way all the time in hell?
I'd say that, God doesn't contradict himself when he describes a place.
Well, darkness can mean with no hope.
And so can flame refer to the kind of anguish and torment he's going through. So that's my point.
Well, then why didn't it just say that?
It could say all kinds of things. You expect it to just mean, if you're going to say that, do you believe Jesus is God?
Well, yes.
Well, and let me hit you with a Muslim claim. Where does Jesus say, "I am God, worship me"?
Well, he implies it when he says the exact same thing that God said.
No. Why doesn't he just come right and outright say it? Not what is the implication? Because I can say it's implied in the text based upon the historical context and the grammatical context. But you want it to be direct, just like the Muslim wants it to be direct with Jesus saying, "I am God, worship me."
No, I'm not saying that. It's just that where it says tormented in flames, it says that elsewhere. I mean, speaking about fire and hell and so on.
Yeah, and then there's places where Jesus says, "And they will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth, where there be in darkness."
Well, yeah. What can happen is God sends people out of the city, which is darkness, because in the city will be light, and outside, I guess, will be darkness. And once hell begins, once the fire comes down, then fire will destroy them.
No, he says in the place that there will be darkness.
Forever?
It seems to be the place, yeah, that they'll be weeping and gnashing of the teeth, and they will be in darkness.
Forever, though?
Again, you want the word forever, just like a Muslim wants you to say, where's the Bible say Jesus says, "I am God, worship me"?
No, again, I'm just saying, it's just like how, like I will have a job at Walmart. And then later on I say, yeah, and then also I will also work for Target. It's not a contradiction.
Then can you even show me where there's some sort of abrogation about the darkness that's going on?
No. Well, yeah, eventually there could be darkness in one sense, and also up to one time, such as can be literally dark. And then when fire starts, then the darkness goes away. They're not lies. It's just that one thing starts before the other.
Okay, well, nowhere does it say it in that text that that's the concept. The issue is that in one part, it talks about the darkness, and then the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth, and the flames. These are all languages that are describing the torment of the people who are separated from God, and there is no hope for them after that, and they have to deal with that.
Okay, so then how would you?
That's why it uses the language weeping and gnashing of the teeth, which it explains the suffering in an exaggerated fashion, showing the deep extent of their suffering.
So do you actually believe there will be literal fire eventually?
I don't believe there will be a literal fire eventually.
You don't believe in fire at all?
I don't believe that there will be a fire at all. No.
So the fire, so then when Sodom and Gomorrah was set on fire. I mean, fire and brimstone destroyed it. In the book
That
of
we're talking about the concept of hell, sir.
yeah. So then this is in Jude. It says that this is Sodom and Gomorrah was an example of eternal fire, everlasting fire for those who will suffer, the same kind of consequences. Why even suggest that?
Again, he's using that not just as he's using an example to go by also the concept of punishment. So he's using the concept of the vengeance of eternal fire, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire, which is in verse 7. So the key that's going to be focused upon these people is that it's the vengeance of the eternal fire. In other words, the pain, the agony, and such. So that's what we're seeing. Because if we're saying there's fire, then we must say God lies, that he contradicts himself.
No, it just means that he's just saying that two different things will happen.
Yeah, and he doesn't lay this out clearly. So you have to come with a preconceived idea before you come to this.
No, you just put the pieces together. Like, for example, he says that there will be many that come to him saying, Lord, Lord, have I not done these things in your name? And he will say, I never knew you. So then that can be at one point where people come to him, and then he says, look, you can't come in the city. He casts them out. They'll be in, weeping and gnashing teeth. Of course, they're crying, saying, oh, no, I thought you knew me. And they're just going to be in darkness, away from God, away from Christ, and in some corner. And eventually, like in Revelation chapter 20, it talks about how the people will try to attack the city. And then it says fire will come down from God out of heaven and devour them. That will be the time when fire literally destroys them, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's not a contradiction.
All right, so if we're going to go with that, then let me ask you this. What form does the Holy Spirit take?
The form takes any form you want. I mean, the Holy Spirit takes any form he wants.
So can we physically touch the Holy Spirit?
Yeah, if he wants to be touched.
No, I'm asking, can it?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay. Has there been any moment where this has been done?
Yeah, quite several times.
Where?
The prophets. You said where?
Yes.
Well, it hasn't happened to me, but when it comes to the Bible, where the Bible talks about, for example, the Spirit of the Lord took up Philip, and he ended up some other place. Like it says, the Spirit of the Lord did that.
Yeah, but he didn't touch the Spirit of the Lord.
Well, no, if the Spirit of the Lord carried him,
it can carry him without having to touch him.
So then what? So if the Spirit of the Lord did not carry him,
it carried him without using physical arms.
The Bible told you that? Does it have to be physical arms? I mean, it could be anything. It could be water. He could take any form.
Okay, I'm done with this. All right.
Well,
so we gotta get to other people that have got questions set up. So thank you for your time. If we got another time, we'll come back to you on the questions. All right. So before we get to Steve, we got a couple of questions from the Discord chat. So we have Oliver Alias. What do you make of the people claiming that the rapture will happen this Saturday? I don't think there will be a rapture. And I even looked at the guy that wrote the book. He apparently said that it's just that something tremendous will happen. But he even then still says that apparently sometime by the end of October will begin the tribulation period, which is, the 7 years and such. To which I say Matthew chapter 24, verse 36, but of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor even the Son, but the Father alone. It's not for us to make these kinds of decisions, and people who try to claim that there's going to be making a statement or a prediction about when the return comes are fools that do not care for what the Bible says, because clearly in Jesus' own words says that no one knows, not even the angels, nor the Son, only the Father alone. All right. Then we have Mary Annette asking, how do I deal with struggles as I pray and nothing works? Do I turn away from God or have more trust that things will be fine? My suggestion would be to definitely have trust in God, because things may seem difficult at first, but whenever I've had troubles before with the loss of my uncle, it was not an easy path for me. I sometimes wondered, could I have learned about who he was a bit more? Should I have visited him often? Because I think I was still going through college at that time. And I felt really bad after hearing about that. And so even to this day, I'm actually trying to hope things go well with my grandpa, who has stage 4 cancer at the moment, and we don't know how long he'll have till he's gone and out of this world. But I went and saw him yesterday. He's doing pretty good. We had he had some chili dogs. I had some chicken strips, and we sat down binge watching some Monster Fish until my dad got to the place. So, I mean, the thing I would say is that, keep going and just look for the things in life, because the thing is that when you put your trust in God, even during these tough circumstances, and may seem to you that he's not working, he does work in everybody in any kind of way. It may work differently than just simply a direct healing and such, but he still does work through. And I know this definitely has worked out in ways we haven't figured out, such as that my brother was separate from us for a bit. At least that I didn't get the chance to really, talk to him or know him as much. And then other things with the family. And then a great friend of his that, he would hang out with, because he hung out with his friends more than he'd hang out with his family, ended up his friend passed away. And it took a huge toll on him, losing a very good friend of his. But the thing that I think we found out, at least that I made the observation of, is that it brought us all together. He, in a time of need, he realized that one of his best friends, that was the most person he could rely on, and he kind of gave up on his family in a way for that. He now realized he needed his mom, his dad, his brothers and sisters, and other friends to help him out with this. And so he definitely sort of became a different person after that, and definitely a mature guy. He's doing well. He's doing some pipe jobs in Texas, and definitely I'd say he makes a lot more money than me, and he's definitely got the more manly, hardworking jobs at this point. Sometimes I wonder if I could ask him for some money, But yeah, I mean, God works in ways that we can't understand fully at times, but it takes time and patience. That's why, as Christians, we are told to endure, to persevere to the end. There will be our benefit and our reward if we have the patience and reward, just like God, and in his mercy, was patient with some of us in bringing us to him through his son, Jesus. So I hope that helps you out, Marinette. So we got a couple other the things then here that we'll get to. But right now we got to get back to the live chat, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people in here feel ignored. But speaking of people, Steve, what's up?
Hey, what's up? See, first, sorry to hear about your grandpa. Hope everything, works out okay and he's okay. So let us know about that, right? We're there for you. And
Thanks,
second, the question I have to you, I posed in the Great Debate community, and I'm getting some people to answer it. I think Dr. Kenny Rhodes did a decent job at trying to answer, at least, but I still don't feel like I've got a complete picture. And so what my question is if you do happen to watch Apologia's latest video when he featured Dan Barker, did you watch that yet?
Dan Barker.
He's the head of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Okay. And he brings up a good point. Dan brings up a good point. A question, at least, in regards to Jesus and the woman taken in adultery. I think it's called the I think it's pericope de adultera is what is pronounced. Is that right? Pericope? That's
yeah. The woman caught in adultery. Yes.
Yeah. So the question kind of it was something along the lines of if there had been a person there that claimed they had been sin-free, because obviously Jesus was just doing some kind of sermon or something, and they were asking him, what do we do with this woman, accusing her of adultery, and he basically, blew them off. He's doing something on the ground writing, and then he finally it says to them, if any of you don't have, whoever you have sinned, to cast a first stone, whatever he said, right? You're the expert on that. So. But basically said if you're sinless, then go ahead and cast first stone. But they all like, oh well, we all have sin, and they threw down their rocks. But two things: one, what happens if there was something like a quote sinless Pharisee who thought they were sinless and he wanted to cast the first stone?
Mm-hmm.
What would have Jesus done? Second, actually three-parter. Second, why did you have to be sin-free to enact a punishment if that was the Mosaic law? Why would you have to be sin-free? You just had to carry out the punishment. And three, if Jesus was sin-free, then according to the law that he came not to change one iota or tittle, right? He came to fulfill the law. Why didn't he carry out the punishment?
Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to try to go through this one by one because I made some good points there. So first of all, concerning the question of if the guy shows up, is he actually a sinful person, but he just, he's outright just saying, I am sinless, trying to, pass by Jesus's objection?
Sure. I mean, I'll, for the sake of the argument, say that, yes, under Christian theology, the only person that was sinless was Jesus. Okay. Right. So I'm not going to advocate this person was sinless. That's not my hypothetical. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if he said to the people, right? Hey, look, okay. We have to be realistic. People lied back then. So he said, look, I am sinless. And of course, people were not in that favored mind for Jesus anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm going by the narrative. I'm not advocating one way or another. But if somebody said, look, I am sinless, I want to throw my first stone at this woman. She's broken the law. She has transgressed. What would have Jesus said? Because the law did say that. The law allowed for that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's the point, is that in regards to the passage, let's go, like I said, if we go with the granting of the thing there, Jesus would then challenge the person, and here's why: because he's done this before with the other Pharisees. Because one, if he says this and comes out, there's not just the Pharisees that are part of the council that are before him, or people that would go to the council, but other people that would then stand hold and witness. So Jesus would then do what he's done to the Pharisees in the past, like, when they ask, who should we pay the taxes to? There's always an audience around. He's trying to get a point across that testing the consistency of the Pharisees. So if one were to say, I am sinless, he would then ask the question, kind of like how you see Ray Comfort doing some of his evangelism things, when he asks those questions to see if people are fully good and such, if they kept at least the 10 commandments and such. So he would do something like that. And then after doing this in public, would demonstrate that he is not sinless, and he won't be able to do something unless he then has to deal with the crowd, because not only is he doing this in front of a bunch of civilians, which are just observing, but then he has to deal with the council, the Pharisees, that are also observing at the same time, that would put him in trial as well for disobeying a concept that Jesus pointed out that the other Jews would have actually agreed with. That's why they put the stone down. So that'd be the first point. What was the second part that you mentioned in the question?
Well, I mean, but still, I mean, if he couldn't have shown the guy was lying, and the guy was just, a snake oil salesman. He was the Ken Hovind of the time, right?
Right.
I mean, let's go with the argument as is. If he couldn't convince the people that this guy had sin. And by the way, I still haven't recognized yet why you had to be sin free to carry out the punishment. That's part 2. But what would he have done if the masses wanted this guy to stone her? What would he have done?
That if what?
If
Did
the
he convince
mass around,
them?
like you said, there was the group of Pharisees and the common people, because he was giving a lecture at the time, or whatever they call it. What would he have done if all the masses said, "Hey, look, this is the law. We believe this guy, has a right to do it." And again, I don't know if they would have said he had to be sin free, because I don't know where that is in the Bible. You had to be sin free to carry out a condemnation under the Mosaic law. But what would Jesus have done if the masses would have wanted this to happen? Would he have been obligated to let it happen?
He would not have. He would not have let it happen. No.
How would he have stopped it? How would he have stopped it if there was masses of people all wanting this to happen? It was a mob mentality. Would he have done? Would he made a miracle or something and clouds from the sky and struck everybody down? Or
I don't know.
That would have been that much?
I don't know, because we're dealing with a hypothetical and we're going so deep into it that due to the realm of possibilities of what Jesus could do, being God manifested in the flesh, along with having the aid of the Father, there could have been a lot of things. And
all right, so you're saying I'm fair with that. So you're saying that he would have stopped it by any means necessary, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, okay, that's fair. Okay, so why did a person have to be sinless to cast the first stone? Where is that written?
Mm-hmm. He's just illustrating a point to focus that if she broke a law, made a sin, if that's the case, let the person without sin cast a stone, because he's making the point that if you then have sinned, then you must realize you likewise are also under the penalty of the law, and
right,
would
so
therefore find yourself under the same condemnation.
But they would have been hypocrites, but they would have been justified under the law to cast that first stone.
Right, but they have to realize that if they did that, then they're going to demand that, then have to be fair and consistent, let it be done to them.
Right,
they didn't want that, and they did not want that, and that's the whole point.
But you just said Jesus would have let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
If Jesus would not let it have happened, then you're basically saying they couldn't have fulfilled the law if they wanted to. They would have been hypocrites, but they would have been right within the law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just pointing out why they didn't do it. I thought that's all you were just trying to get across.
But okay, but you're not. I don't think you're getting it. If one of them would have said, I am justified to perform this action. I'm justified under the law to stone this woman to death. Again, I don't see anything in the law that says you have to be sin free to do that. Now, granted, he's pointing out the hypocrisy. Totally get that. He's right. But if somebody would have said, I don't have to be sin free, I'm throwing the first stone and let them condemn me afterwards, you're now saying that Jesus would have stopped that from happening and violated the Mosaic law that he was actually sent to adhere to, because he said he wasn't going to change the law. What would they have thought of?
He wasn't going to change the law.
What would they have thought of him?
Yeah. And again, this is why personally I also don't think that text doesn't belong in the Bible, due to the kind of conflicting kind of idea. But playing with the idea of the text, I would also see that Jesus is trying to illustrate a point. And the point is that if you're going to condemn this person, you have to realize that you likewise are under the same law, and you would then have to either kill yourself with this stoning, or have someone
you can't kill yourself. That's against the law.
Right, exactly. So that, or have someone kill you under it. Either way, you have to be stoned.
But that's fine. That's hypocrisy. But my question initially was, would Jesus allow it to happen? You said no. If that's the case, then Jesus would have been broken the law, because he would have been violating the Mosaic thing that he's allowed to stone this woman to death.
Right, and that's if I'm going with the story, because again, I don't defend the story.
Well, fair enough.
Which is why when I hand out usually Gospels of John, I usually hand them out in the ESV and the NIV that have the note saying that this is not part of the original. Right,
and let me throw that out there for just because of all fairness, there is some contention out there if this is a legitimate story, of an accurate account, or if it was added in incorrectly. I believe, like you said, the NIV makes a note of this. Is that true, that this is something that's questionable?
Most of your modern Bibles, ESV, NIV, NLT, all of them will
Okay.
make the note.
Fair enough. And I mean, you know what? Like I said, that's a fair thing. And all I can do is say, if these are conditions, what are the consequences? And I think the consequences are pretty strange if this story actually did happen, the way that it was accounted for. And the third part of the question was, if somebody had to be sin free, which I think we've kind of deduced doesn't have to be, why didn't Jesus carry out the if this was the law and he was the person to fulfill the law? Why didn't he carry it out? Now, granted, he's Jesus, right? And he has, I mean, but this was the law back then. And it's a contradiction, I think, between what the law was and what Jesus' teachings are. Now, I am fine with Jesus' teachings, don't get me wrong. But I see a problem when you try to combine that Mosaic law and Jesus' teaching and try to say, okay, this is one coherent framework. Do you agree with that?
That it's one coherent framework?
Yeah, because you can't say Jesus came to fulfill the law and then say, oh, well, but in this particular case, he wouldn't allow the law to happen.
Mm-hmm. Right. The issue about I'm getting an echo from you.
Sorry.
The issue about that's still there.
Really? Maybe
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The issue about the fulfilling of the law. I actually did a debate with Mac Thomas on this particular issue. Is that in regards to what he means by fulfilling the law, he says he's not come to destroy it, meaning he hasn't come to see it as if it's a useless thing, but he's come to fulfill it, meaning especially in fulfillment of things such as the prophecies, which is found within the Torah as well as the rest of the Tanakh, because the Torah itself contains the prophecies. But the point is also that he's not just following the prophecies, but also fulfilling and obeying all of the commandments in it. But there are times in the New Testament where he puts in passages that seem to suggest a non-strict way of law observance. For example, being the Sabbath, people were working on his apostles were working on the Shabbat, and when the Pharisees rebuke him, he basically makes the statement that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, meaning the Sabbath was made to benefit men and was to serve men in regards to their issue of the benefits of rest and all that kind of such. But man's not made to serve the Shabbat and observe the Sabbath and all that kind of stuff. And then he says that also that the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath and that he may do what he wishes with it. Then you have the passage where it says, it's not what goes in you that defiles you, but what comes out of you that does. This would violate, or at least have a different view anyways, really, not violate, but have a different view towards the dietary laws in which those say, if you eat these things, they defile you. But Jesus himself said, it's not what goes in that defiles you, but what comes out. And what we're seeing is that while he's adhering to the Torah, to the laws, he is not putting that conscience on his apostles. And that's why he's teaching them that. But he is likewise trying to observe and keep to the Torah to fulfill the law, not just prophecy-wise, but also in regards to the laws itself.
Yeah, see, the whole Sunday thing on the Shabbat, I think, is a different issue.
Well, so the Shabbat was a Saturday.
Yeah, well, that was the Sabbath for them, though. Right? That was the Sabbath day, was a Saturday, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if a man worked on that day, according to the law, he was supposed to be put to death. And if a person was picking up sticks, granted, I think that was not considered to be, in my opinion, obviously working. I think that's the principle that he took from it, was that's not, picking up sticks is not working. We all have to function daily, right? But I think that was the argument that was being made by Jesus. If he actually was shown to have been working, like literally doing trade, marketing, marketplace, whatever it was, he would have been under the law justified to have the death penalty for him. That was the law. Would you agree?
Yeah, and that's why I said that he's not being opposed towards the law, but at the same time, we see principles where he's not imposing the law, the Torah, on other people.
But in the case of the adultery, that was a clear-cut case. It wasn't there was no ambiguity there of her working or not. It was she committed adultery. This was justifiable by the death penalty under Mosaic law, right? And I find it weird to say, Well, if somebody wanted to cast that first stone, Jesus would not have let it happen, because then he would have been in violation of the law himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. The story probably has been changed a lot if it did ever happen. And I know there's a questionable backstory on that particular passage, but you do agree that as written, there's some concern there, right? Would you agree on that? That if it's exactly as written, did Jesus do the right thing? I mean, yeah, I think he did. If that was the case, he tried to get these people to realize that hypocrisy. But what happens if he couldn't have let them? What happens if he had not let them do that? And they said, you know what? We are hypocrites. We're going to do it anyways. Because at that point, Jesus has to either do one or two things. He has to say, well, this is the law and allow it to happen, which I find morally reprehensible, or he has to impose his own moral viewpoints, which would have superseded that of the law, which is objective morality of God. So see the quandary there that presents? It's a legit quandary, I think.
Yes,
this is why Dan Barker brought it up. Now he only had a very simple explanation of it.
And again, like I said, I've provided about as everything as I can give on the whole answer from the perspective of entertaining the idea and noting that granting what you're saying, it is a forgery into the text and would seem to, at its face value, imply a problem. And that's why I would also say definitely a reason why it shouldn't be in there, because Jesus wouldn't just simply make a statement like that in the text. It would go out of the context of what John's gospel goes about, as well as Jesus's style in the variety of the gospels.
I mean, I accept that you're probably right on that. I don't think that resolves the situation. As if it was legit, if the whole story was legit, I don't think it resolves the situation, because I don't know what would have happened.
Which is why I don't put my whole heart and faith into the argument of trying to argue entertaining the idea, because I, as a person who reads the Bible, I'm reading what the Bible originally written says, and the woman caught in adultery is not in the originals.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think a good I don't want to say defeater to the argument, but I think a good way around it for you is simply just saying, look, if it was a forgery, we don't even know if these are the situations. So if we don't know if this is a situation that Jesus did that, there could have been something else Jesus did that we are unaware of that doesn't present a moral quandary. Right? I'm okay with that. So, thank you.
No problem, mate. All right. So thank you for that. Let me see if we got any questions on Twitter. No, we do not. Actually, let's see. I know we have a couple of Discord questions. Before I get to those, I do need to take my medicine, so I'll have some time to take a question in here. Okay, yeah, Preston, because you said you've been waiting patiently, so I'll help you out.
Yes, I had a question, and I saw one of the things you said on Discord. You said that it's impossible for people to be unbiased. Now, I would like to know, is it impossible for somebody to be totally unbiased and not let their life experiences or their presuppositions get in the way of their beliefs? Because we know facts are facts. If everybody has a presupposition and, that kind of stuff, how do we know what's a fact and what's not? Because it's going to have some bias in it. So how do we know what facts are if everybody has some sort of bias towards something, everything, I mean?
Right. All right. So I'm going to take my medicine while I do this. So I'll be off in earbuds for a sec. So I don't think the facts themselves are biased. I think that's the one thing that we have to be careful with. But what is biased is, say, like when we're examining facts and that we're trying to draw these certain conclusions and such. That would be the part that comes with the bias, because I don't know, hate to draw the whole Ken Ham thing. It's basically like, because I can understand this too, because I mean, looking at how the flat earthers see what exactly, Red Line is showing in some of his videos, and that, what we Christians are seeing compared to the Muslims in some things that we're pointing out in the Torah and the Gospels. We're all looking at the same thing. But based upon whatever starting point that we have like a worldview of, whether we start from the Islamic perspective, the Christian perspective, the young earther, the old earther, or the flat earther or globe earther, people are going to have a drawing conclusion about facts. Facts are non-biased, but people are looking at these facts and the information that's out there, and they're coming to different conclusions. So some people will make up concepts and such. Like, for example, to give one of a person that's on here, Mr. Intelligent Design tries to make up certain facts that we can tell it's just a part of a bias, and things that are just new that we've never heard of, and it's only some he's familiar with, such as this concept of intelligence that really never gets defined. Is that we know that life was intelligently designed because we see this intelligence in things. But again, what does that necessarily mean? How do you define it? Doesn't really do it. Then there's bio interrelation or something like that. Another concept that is used. Again, no scientist knows about this. He claims this is some kind of fact, but it's something that only he made, and he's using it for his own specific things. So I don't know, kind of like a cultic kind of word that people will use. But when we have, factual facts, things that are just, for example, evolution, just the simple change over time, is a fact. Young Earth creationists accept that. Old Earthers accept it. Theistic evolutionists, atheistic evolutionists, all accept this concept of the evolution of change over time. There's different theories, though, of how they, of what the principle of it goes into. So some say it just applies over this short period of time, but you don't see, a crocoduck or whatever the young Earth argument is. That's one way of saying that it has to be like instantaneous or short. Then you have the old Earth perspective that points out that it has to take a long period of time, and there's different perspectives on it, and they're looking at the same evidence, but based on some preconceived notion, they're going to automatically shut their brain to a specific thing. So that's the thing where I think we need for example, in scientific research and theological essay research, we need tons of people, because, and this is actually something I learned from a young Earth creationist, is that everyone has a bias, and that's why peer review papers and such help out a lot, because different perspectives are coming in on it, and you're basically doing this to cancel out the bias, because you're having a bunch of people look at it, and if you can get a good consensus or a majority agreement, you have a good point for your side at that point to back up what you're saying. And apparently Steve said he wanted to comment on that real quick. But
Wait,
again,
before Steve does, I just want to say one thing. So we have the facts, right? But people take those facts and they associate it with like their worldview they have, right? Is that
some
how that
do,
works?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what do you want to say, Steve? Make it real quick, because we got to get to other people.
Yeah, just be a minute. Facts are what comport with reality. Facts are what we know to be true based upon our observation, our experimentation. Those are facts. A scientific fact is something that we look at it and say, we know this to be the case. What's the biggest mammal in the ocean? Well, okay, we know the fact is the whale, right? What's the the biggest planet in the solar system? Well, we know it's Jupiter. These are scientific facts. Facts don't change because of bias. Facts do not change because you want the universe and the reality to be comporting to what you think it should be. Those are what facts. And facts can change as we acquire more information, but that's not on an individual basis. We can't just say, hey, the fact is that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and somebody come along and say, well, I don't think that's a fact. Well, they have to demonstrate that's not a fact. If they cannot do it, the fact remains. And that's why every young Earth creationist has failed miserably, because none of them has ever been able to demonstrate that the fact that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old is not a fact. Right?
Steve, here's something that always holds true. E to the x is always e to the x. Oh, okay. The derivative of e to the x is always itself.
But that's a mathematical thing. That's an analytical statement, though.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyways, hope that answers your question there, Preston.
Yeah, thanks. I'll probably be asking other questions later.
As long as you don't ask me to take care of a settlement, I'll be fine.
Just
Fallout 4 joke. Anyways,
I know.
To escape the cringe, we're going to go to the next to the questions we have in the Discord. Again, if y'all are in the Discord chat, feel free to submit any more questions you got through there. Seems to be other popular place we're getting it at is there,
Wait.
not no Twitter.
Do you have your own Discord server, or
Yeah,
am I in there? I forget. Anyway, sorry.
I don't think.
Yeah.
You just go to my YouTube channel where the stream's going, and you can click on the Discord link there.
You got a Discord. Why don't you stream? Just out of curiosity.
Here at BJ's
Why
Restaurant.
Why don't you use like OBS and stream it if you have a Discord server that can show chat and stuff?
Because I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Steve. I'm a dum-dum when it comes
Hey,
to technology.
dude, I'll help you, brother.
All right.
If you want to learn.
40 years.
What the heck are you listening to?
I don't know. I have a video playing. I don't mean to. I'm trying to turn it off, and my computer's acting weird. Here you go. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Yeah, no, but I mean, if you ever want to learn streaming like you through OBS or XSplit or anything like that, yeah, I'll definitely help you out. Heck, I mean, I spent an hour telling Neffy how to do it the other day. So if I could do it for Neffy, I can sure do it for you. If you ever want to do that kind of streaming.
I have someone saying, have I seen a good Lord. Some guy for the what's it called, the Hero No Hero animation, little Dragon Ball Super Bridge thing that I do the voice acting for. Apparently is asking if I see the Vegeta animation he made. Apparently have, and I have not. So I don't know, send me something about that whenever you get a chance. Okay, so Berserk Blitz, also known as a Keyblade Xemnas, in the YouTube chat, which is he going to be in here? Okay, I don't know. Says 2 questions. Is it a smart idea to wash my toaster in the bathtub when I'm in it? No. Next question. What is anarchism? You know, you see that stuff about what goes on at that Antifa rallies and stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. You know, forget the government, chaos, disorder, pretty much just anything to try to keep things organized without government, which I think that would be impossible to do, even though apparently I've been told by people that's actually a possibility, but I disagree. Yeah, it's a funny story, Steve. Actually, there's some guy that, you know, because he saw anarchist in my name, even though I'm not an anarchist at all, he asked me to join his anarchist group on YouTube. They were trying to be this utopian for anarchists. As I rejected and said I'm not an actual anarchist, he's like, well, I'm going to have to ask you to remove your name as Christian Anarchist and replace it with something else, for we control and own the territory of the anarchists. I'm like, well, way to sound like a fascist there, don't you? Yeah.
Hey, wait, can I add in something? I want to know, like, what's your view then if you're not an anarchist? Because I thought you were.
I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we got Speaker Box asking a question. If you're not an anarchist, why do you call yourself Christian Anarchist? Again, you go to my YouTube channel. There's an introduction page on there that tells you why. That's one of the questions, because I'm sick and tired of answering this one. I called myself a Christian Anarchist because it seems when I preach the gospel or when I discuss theology, some people are going to always seem to cause some kind of discord or chaos. And I don't even mean to do it, but it happens because God's word can sometimes cause some people to, you know, cringe, if you will, at what's being said.
Well, hang on though, CA. I mean, one, some people do consider things you say heretical. Now, I don't particularly think that, but you can't say that the God's teaching causes people to do that, because they can use the same thing. Justin can come in here and say, you know what, Christian, you might get upset because when I'm teaching you about younger creationism and Seventh-day Adventism, God's telling you this and you don't want to hear it, right?
Right, and that's right, and he can say that, and he can say that, and that's what. But the point is, I'm basing that kind of concept. I'm putting it into a name.
But do you see that? How is it okay for like me? I'm an outside observer. How the hell do I know which Christian's telling me the correct stuff and which ones God is actually saying, hey, listen to this guy rather than listen to this guy? Because I'm telling you, we've got about 30 different flavors of Christians going on, and I'm being conservative. So, and they're all saying, "Hey, I'm telling you the truth." I mean, you mentioned to Justin earlier. Well, I don't really consider you to be a Christian. He's going to say that about
Right.
you. You guys are both going to say
Yeah.
that about G-Man probably nowadays. I mean,
Well, I wouldn't say that of G-Man.
well, okay, that's fair enough. Some do, some don't.
Right.
But there are people that you would, I'm sure that you would say that about, correct?
Yeah, the reason why I say that Justin's not is because of not just simple minor disagreements, but he believes that Ellen G. White is an inspired prophet, believes that her writings are about as authoritative as the Bible.
No, I agree with you, Joe. I'm down with it. I've had day-long discussion with Justin one time, 8 hour to hangout. He's way off the mark on all across the board, to say the least.
And that's
Does that make him
basically
not a Christian, though? That's not my call.
Right, but the point is that if you are going to say some of these statements, these are basically very big essentials in which you're saying that Ellen G. White's writings are about as authoritative as the scriptures.
He's a crazy Christian, but I don't think it makes him any less Christian than some of the other things that I've heard. Speaking of crazy Christians, hi Wayne. No, I'm kidding.
But for example, she believes that it's saying that her writings are inspired. I mean, for example, one of the former directors of the White Estate, which is the place that keeps a museum of Ellen G. White's writings and occasionally publishes whatever they feel like publishing in the new, is, quote, "I believe that both Ellen G. White and the Apostle Paul were true prophets who wrote under the influence of the Holy Spirit. My reason for believing in the inspiration of one is identical with my reason for believing in the inspiration of the other. In both cases, the Holy Spirit addresses me through their writings and persuades me of their divine origin." So basically saying that Ellen G. White writes with divine authority.
No, I agree with you. No, Christian, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that SCAs are whack jobs, but that's
the point. If you say that, that automatically disqualifies you because you're adding on to the Bible.
But Christian Anarchist, even if that's all true, which I do believe that you're right, it is true. Why, as an outside observer, right, as somebody who's an agnostic, then I'm just saying, well, the SDAs have no more back crazy stuff than I hear some of these other Christians saying, right? I mean, why are they any less Christian? And of course Justin's going to go, well, Catholics aren't Christian, and of course Baptists aren't Christian, and the charismatic Pentecostals, they're not Christian. And of course we got the accounts of Google Plus, and none of them are Christians. It's like all I ever hear is, oh, who's Christians, who's not, and they all call each other that. And I have not met one Christian yet that has ever been able to differentiate to me which one's a real Christian or not. And even if they say, here's the Bible, go by the Bible, well, that doesn't tell me anything, because there's different ways of looking at the Bible as well.
Right, but there's also, for example, Baptist is what I am. There's the people we disagree with are the Methodists and the Presbyterians, especially on infant baptism and such. But we accept ourselves as Christians because the debate on that difference is not an essential, because we don't say baptism is a part of salvation. We just have different ways of doing the modes of it, as well as including it in concepts of membership. So that's the whole thing. But when you have a point, for example, like in SDAs, that Ellen G. White basically saying that I endorse people to read this particular Daystar, this little magazine thing, saying that the Lord authorizes the reading of it, which says that the idea of the atonement being made and finished on Calvary is a lie.
Right. So I agree with you. There's salvational issues and there's non-salvational.
Right, but that's my point, is that's what gets the whole thing between the SDAs and other groups as well. Mormons being polytheists, Jehovah's Witnesses, forgot what exactly they Mariologists or whatever the concept is, that basically believes that there's multiple gods, but that there's something called a one true God.
Yeah, it's a monolaterist.
Yeah, that. But yeah, that's all I'm saying.
But I think you missed the point. When we hear, right, when we hear Christian people label other Christians not Christian, it leaves a sour taste, because I think they're just being hypocrites at that point. You go by a faith, and I respect that. But when you start calling other people not Christians, and they do it back to you, anybody else who's listening in is going to ignore both of you. I would avoid doing that at all costs. I really would, because it does nothing to help your cause, because they're going to use the same arguments against you. Now, I agree with you. There are some things that I think would more be considered salvational. I don't think God gives a crap if he exists about certain things, right? But like baby baptism, to them, that's salvational. But if you're Pentecostal and you believe in speaking in tongues, is that critical? I don't think so. Right. But I'll tell you, I had a guy argue with me the other day on who Jesus is, and I'm like, look it. If you think Jesus is some other being than what he claims to be, let's say created, like for example, we were talking about created being. If I'm a Christian, I think Jesus was a created being, and Jesus is so petty to think that is a salvational issue, such that a person had a misconception about him, and that's going to send a person to hell for eternity. That's not the kind of being that I want to worship. Does it make sense? Would you agree, or am I off base?
I would differ with you on the issue about like the petty and not worshiping thing, but I mean, like I said, that's how you feel about it, then
But how is that not petty? If he's Jesus and he's all forgiving, and he's like, I wouldn't
say I wouldn't say all forgiving.
Well, okay, but what about this way? Because I know Heavy Hauler has a beautiful analogy. He always uses this analogy. He says, if I'm out plowing my crops and stuff like that, and I turn out to be a Christian one day. Let's say I want to become a Christian. I don't know anything about the Kalam cosmological argument or any deep theology. All I know is Jesus died on the cross for my sins, and I don't know anything else. And I have some misconceptions about the Bible or Jesus. Am I going to go to hell?
Right, and I don't think that he would go to hell. I think if the gospel is the essential thing, I mean, the only thing is that the Trinity is definitely a part of it because that's the identity of who God is. But I mean, other than that, as far as like Calvinism and Arminianism debate, the modes of baptism, which are you standing on that? Those are adiaphora issues. It's basically just the gospel itself that saves, and that message alone is that Jesus died on the cross for sinners, and that's basically it.
But the concept of the Trinity is salvational.
Well, it's about believing in God, and there's only hold on, and there's only one God, and if that's the case, well, is he Unitarian? Is he Binitarian? Is he Trinitarian? That's the thing that we have to figure out, is because you can't have one God that's Unitarian, another that's Trinitarian. There has to be one God. That's what I'm getting at with that. One may not have a perfect understanding of it, because there are some people that do have a sloppy way of understanding it, but it's about what is ultimately in the heart that boils down to it. You don't have to have the same understanding of the Trinity in the same way that Norman Geisler or James White would have the understanding in a theologian's terms, but at least you have a basic understanding that Jesus does identify himself as God. The Holy Spirit is considered God in the book of Acts and other places. It seems to be that kind of working, and that the Father, of course, is God. As long as you can recognize that's fine. You don't have to focus on the nitty-gritty details.
All right, so if you're an anti-Trinitarian, you can't be saved.
If you're anti-Trinitarian, no.
Okay, so Nephilim free, not saved. He's doomed to hell.
Yeah, because it's not just because of that, because there's other things.
Well, okay, this is pick that one issue, though. I mean, you obviously know he's an anti-Trinitarian. Now,
Absolutely.
His brothers in Christ on the other side, they prop him up as the greatest thing, since sliced bread, right? He's the anti-evolution guy. He's the salvational expert kind of thing.
Yeah, because they don't know about his anti-Trinitarian views. He doesn't go public with those, and whenever someone...
I think they do. I know Veckel does. I've discussed it with him before.
Yeah, because he knew about it from me. And because when I showed him a video, and I've shared it online, Nephilim Free basically tried to take the video down for copyright infringement. No, I know. And it was off the internet for a few days.
But I mean, but you got to see the point that I find it very distasteful when I hear people labeling, oh, this person's not a Christian or that person's not a Christian. Because I got to tell you, as soon as I hear that, I don't really want to listen to the person anymore. I mean, I'm not telling you how to do your ministry, but I'm just saying as somebody that you should be preaching to, because obviously I'm the convert, or not me, I'm the non-convert, I'm the agnostic, that most of the people that I find when they're in my position, they're going to be turned off by it. And if you're trying to reach those kind of people, it just sounds like a bunch of rhetoric to us, negative rhetoric to us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, by the way, thank you.
What was that?
Oh, Wayne liked my beard.
Oh yeah.
You had to see it.
Who doesn't love your beard?
Yeah. You want to see? Do you see my hair? Want to see it? You're gonna
Sure.
freak. It's down. It's literally okay. It is down to my shoulders. I mean, do I look like an Ashkenazi Jew or what? I mean, I even got the.
I didn't want to say anything, but yeah.
I can put it down here. So yeah, it's getting quite long. It's all the way over. So I'm doing the wizard thing. Yeah.
All right, Gandalf. I'll keep that in mind.
You got no idea that I was letting it grow so long, huh?
I had no idea. I thought it was short, man.
No, it's actually quite long.
Well, that's what I guess that's what happens when you wear those huge headphones. I can't see the back of your hair.
These are the Nephilim free headphones.
It just needs to have a huge microphone to go along with it. Anyways,
do you ever see that Truth Surge video?
No, but I will have to check it out. But we do got to try to get to other people because we've almost got about an hour left. And I see we do have a lot of people. Oh my goodness. We have like 13 people now in the live chat. That's a lot of interesting people.
They're here for Wayne.
Yeah, Wayne's going to steal the thunder. I wonder what happens if I just kick him out and everybody starts leaving. It's like, dang, I lost my audience.
Not.
All right, so I want to try to see. Wait, did someone? Because I thought someone just submitted something in the Discord. Okay. Discord. Why does anyone think they should believe a text above and beyond their own personal experience? Isn't that the definition of brainwash indoctrination? Isn't that, or doesn't that make their knowledge at least one step away from their knowledge and hence weaker? I don't think so. I mean, here's what I'd say. I mean, the text should have to at least have some standard and basis because some texts also note historical things as well as just the historical observation. So a science textbook, for example, can overweigh someone's own personal experience. For example, again, this is some of the people in here are gonna definitely throw some stuff at me, but the issue about evolution, we have this in the books and such, but some people will say, well, from my personal experience, I've never seen, a dog turn into some other kind of creature. They'll try to go with that kind of thing, that personal experience. If we go with that, then their personal experience outweighs that. I think that there are times where a text does need to be a standard for a specific thing. And that's where, in regards to, at least from the theological perspective of the Bible, is one of those things for issues such as morality, knowing where we come from, which again doesn't necessarily conflict with the evolution aspects, depending on which view you take in that whole theories. And then, isn't this the definition of brainwashed indoctrination? No, neither. In the same way that I viewed the teaching of, the text of evolution in the text in the science classes, I thought it's basically pointing it out there. We're allowed to take it or believe it or accept it as fact or not. Because some people, you have like Ken Ham or Jason Lyle that will go in and they'll just ignore the text. Some people then, are still taking it today and will say, I don't believe it. That sounds ridiculous. But I went in and just listened to it and, I thought it was there. It's not brainwash indoctrination. It's brainwash indoctrination if you're basically told to believe this, you have no choice in the matter, as if someone put a gun to your head or, kind of tortured you and locked you in the room like the mom did to Carrie in that one movie. So yeah, that would be a concept. And doesn't that make their knowledge at least one step away from, quote, their knowledge, hence weaker? I don't think so. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Lucky me from the Discord. Okay, so dear Lord, I'm going to tire my brain out trying to get to these questions. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Speaker box 123. So what do I think of sinless perfectionism? Well, if I had a toilet nearby and flushed it, that would kind of be my thoughts, because it goes right down there. So you can't be sinless. You can't be sinlessly perfect. I used to believe that kind of nonsense. It's garbage. Just just don't. This is why no one likes Jesse Morrell or Kerrigan Skelly whenever they go out preaching hatred at the campuses. What's it say? Matt Wretched. What is the right denomination? There really is not much. I'd say some of those within the, or at least the majority within the Protestant denomination would definitely fall under this. There are some Catholic groups and some Eastern Orthodox groups that I would say would also fall into a certain way, because they basically almost affirm the biblical essentials when denying some things of the papacy and all that kind of stuff. So it just depends really on if it's in line with the Bible. That's pretty much it. Okay, we're going to take one more from the live chat. I'm going to try to go to the top because I know that someone, I don't even know if they're still in here. Let's see. Trying to find something. Okay. Okay. Carlo Marco Reyes. I'm new here. What do you think about Islamic blasphemy laws? I think that they are, for them to be still put today, I think it'd be, at least specifically with how they do it too, is very wrong to do, and definitely would be something that, because they claim that Jesus being a prophet and such, Jesus himself, and they considered him in Islam to be one of the greater prophets, even greater than Muhammad. They would consider him, this idea of the Islamic blasphemy laws, to be false and stupid. So that's what I think. Okay, so okay, we got Matt Wretched saying, "Have fun stroking your egos. Knowledge puffs up."
What is that?
What? Here's the question, because Southern Israelite mentioned this, that I have some ego that I'm trying to build up after being shattered by him. What ego do I have? I mean, well, did I have one? I mean, do I appear as if I'm a huge celebrity? I mean,
I would never attach you and the word egotistical in the same sentence.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, I don't even think people really know about me as much.
They don't. You're pretty much a nobody like me, but that's okay. We were happy being nobodies. It's like whatever, man.
Yeah.
We have our little following, and yeah, whatever.
Matt Wretched saying, "Have courage, be of good faith, stand with God." I agree. All right, so that's all they got for the live chat for now. If y'all got any questions, Atso's asking, "Are you guys Christians?" Majority of us are, but Steve and Midnight aren't. I think Steve's lacktheist.
Oh God, no.
Okay.
I'm not no lacktheist.
Well, that's what I heard last time. What are you?
Who the hell has ever said I'm a lacktheist? I'm the one that's fighting against lacktheism. Remember?
Oh, I did not know that. I'm confused on this whole thing.
You are still confused on this. No, I'm a temporal agnostic.
Okay, temporal agnostic.
It's been a couple years. You still haven't got it right, but that's okay.
All right, and then we have Midnight, who, again, I want to say agnostic, but again, I don't want to misrepresent what Midnight.
You just did with me.
Well, I'm sorry. That was unintentional. Oh, apparently, Keep Xemnas is saying that Midnight is lactose intolerant. That's what he is.
Lactose intolerant. He has lactase persistence. So yeah.
I'm agnostic atheist.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, we're gonna have a talk on that, Midnight. We're gonna get you changed that probably.
Okay. Anyways, say even people like Steve has his own.
One or the other. I'm confused.
I know. We'll fix that for you. Don't worry, Midnight.
All right. So we're gonna try. All right, so we're gonna get to some of the people in here. Preston says he's got a question. Then we're gonna go to Sister. Then we're gonna go to Keyblade. All right, so Preston, what's your question?
I would like to know how or which Bible translation is true.
Good Lord, if I had to, I remember at the times I was asked this by a King James only advocate in one of my debates. I don't think that there is a quote unquote true translation. I think that the translations either way are going to have some minor flaws and disagreements about this certain type of thing. So when we have, like, for example, the NIV and the New Living Translation, these are dynamic equivalences, meaning that it's relating a theme in the translation. They're not going to be a word for word. They're going to put it in a way that people can understand, summing it up based off of a theme. But when you have like the Christian Standard Bible and the NASB and the ESV and even King James, even though it's gonna have to mute Justin there for a sec. We're getting a lot of background noise there. But the Christian Standard Bible, the King James, the NASB, the ESV, even though the King James is a bit archaic, is that the text is a formal equivalence, trying to be very accurate and trying to go word for word. So it just depends. Like, I think the real question we need to ask is, what is the best translation? And the best translation should be that which you think is going to be comfortable to you, but at the same time gives you the good message. So
wait, are they all good? Like,
not all of them.
Bibles?
I'm not going to say that, because there are some that do have problems that I wouldn't even call them Bibles at that point. While I don't think the Message is entirely a heretical book, I think it's a little slippery, because that is the textbook's definition of what we call a paraphrase Bible. And a paraphrase Bible is basically when something just simply paraphrases it. I mean, for example, let me just go to the simple statement of Genesis 1:1, which that should cling immediately to our heads when we see when we hear about that. So Genesis 1:1, but it puts it as Genesis 1 through 2, or Genesis 1 verses 1 through 2. It says, "First this, God created the heavens and the earth. All you see, all you don't see. Earth was a soup of nothingness, a bottomless emptiness, an inky blackness. God's spirit brooded like a bird above the watery abyss." That is literally the Message Bible right there. And that there's places where, trust me, if you read elsewhere, it does tend to have some strange things. I know a friend of mine, Veckel, did a series on going over certain Message verses, and like there's one where it talks about you missed the boat, and it literally, one of its lines in the Bible is like, "You missed the boat. Your good works don't impress me. You're out of here." Like, literally, that's what the Message translation says. And I don't know, that just, to me, I think that some people may have some conflict with that. So that's why I would prefer at least the New Living Translation, because that's as close as loose as you can get with a dynamic equivalence, but not bordering over to the paraphrasing at that point.
So wait, why, if there is no perfect translation, then why do you still trust, like, the Bible?
Well, because I believe that the originals are things that's the inspired part, and that we can trust that we have something that is very close and identical to the originals because of the vast majority of manuscripts that we've had over the centuries, and that we're able to do a point where we can construct what was in the originals. And we're still in the process of doing this, because originally we thought 1 John 5:7, the woman caught in adultery, the few ending verses of Mark, and Mark 16 verses 9 through 20, that these were originally part of the text. We're now finding out that they're not. But either way, these differences don't affect essential doctrines. But yeah, we're still finding out there's a majority of the Bible is still there, and that these verses speak to the essential truths of the Christian faith. So I believe that. So I still put my faith in the Word of God, because the Word of God is still there. That I'm going based on what was originally written back in the times of the Old Testament prophets, as well as the New Testament era church.
Okay.
Well, I hope that answered your question there, mate.
Thanks.
No problemo. We have Sister Hipster, who, for some of those who tuned into the theological discussion podcast that got uploaded today, she had her first ever appearance as a host of her own mini show of 5-minute daily devotionals. So if y'all tune into next time we try doing one of those, feel free to catch in with Sister Hipster with that. How you going? How you doing, girl?
I'm okay. I don't have a question.
Either way, we still got you some advertisement right there for your little deal on theological discussion.
Thank you.
No problemo. All right, so we have the Keyblade Master, the Keyblade Zemnis, that is.
It's your boy. It is your boy.
Yeah. You have a question there for me, my friend?
Okay. Dude, what this thing about my man Kent Hovind? Like, is it because he only believes in the King James Bible that people don't really like him that much?
There's a lot of reasons, honestly. I'm getting an echo from you as well.
What?
Yeah, I'm getting an echo from you. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of reasons. The King James issue is definitely one reason that it got him in controversy, especially with people like James White, accusing him of lying and deceiving. I actually did a podcast going over that kind of claim. He's basically tried to, avoid paying taxes and such, and there are people that are trying to say that he hasn't broken any taxation laws or something like that, and that it was all a setup. But again, this is the same kind of thing we see with Muslims that try to say that 9/11 was actually, and that ISIS are actually is a Jewish plot made from Zionists, and that they're just trying to discredit Islam for being it, and plus put Jews in a nasty light. But yeah, like it's pretty much that kind of thing. That with that, the King James issue, and just a lot of other creepy stuff that's gone about. I remember also there was like the issue of he actually had a conversation with Matt Slick about Calvinism, and basically, Matt trying to be respectful and said, he actually liked some of the material, but Kent was kind of being rude and, just being a very mocking kind of person, talking about how cruel of a monster the God of Calvinism is and all that kind of stuff. So, yet Matt wasn't trying to degrade any Arminian or other view of God that Kent had in his theology, but he was trying to have a lot of respect, just go over the different issues on the such without having to get into an ad hominem issue. So yeah, there's reasons why Kent is not respected, and to me, it's the signs that he is a guy that doesn't take responsibility and just dismisses things easily.
Yeah, could it be also that he's outright wrong on everything, and that
there's
boils down to evolution's religion, ergo you're going to hell. That's it.
Not just that, he even doesn't even understand.
Yeah, literally what it boils down to.
Well, no, I think it's just literally he doesn't even understand evolution in general.
No, he doesn't. No, of course he doesn't. But right. Did you watch him in Mr. ID? Come on, that was funny.
No, I can't even stand Mr. ID anymore. I mean, until how about this? I'll watch Mr. Intelligent Design's videos whenever he makes a video giving out a detailed textbook definition of what biological interrelation is. Then will I watch, because when you say those words but don't define them, you may as well be speaking your language of Japanese, because I don't understand a single word you're saying.
Hey, I warned Kent. I warned him outright. I was like, don't do this. I'm like, you know what? I'm not telling you you could debate or where you could debate it, but I'm telling you this is going to be the biggest waste of time. And I was telling the secretary, you're going to laugh about this. You're going to laugh. It's going to be the strangest thing you've ever heard. And of course, Kent left. He just left. He during the end, he's talking to Kent, and all of a sudden he's like, Kent, where'd you go? And Kent had told him that he had computer problems. And I'm trying to tell Edgar, no, let me tell you, when Kent drops out, it's not that he has computer problems. He left. He outright split.
He lost.
No, it wasn't that he lost. It's just Mr. Intelligent Design. It's just someone you can't understand.
Right.
At all.
Kent was like, I'm done with this. But he told him,
he's got 6 books.
Yeah, like I watched the debate with R and Ra with him and Intelligent Design, and pretty much his whole experiment to prove intelligent design was, well, I decided to drop some egg on these sheets, and once I got around 7 or 9 sheets, the egg did not crack. So with this pressure that comes down within these things, this proves that there is an intelligence out there. At least that's what I got from him.
Okay, you know what? Honestly, okay,
I was be sympathizing.
honestly, hold on. Why? I'm sure Edgar's nice in real life, but why is he allowed free? I mean, I don't know. It just seems like he's kind of
Institutionalized.
What was that?
I don't know how he's got R and Kent, to be honest with you. It kind of diminishes.
Yeah, it just seems like he's kind of nuts.
Going after such low hanging fruit.
Maybe maybe he's harmless. Maybe he's dangerous. I don't know, but he is. He is who he is, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you get a chance, just watch the last 10 minutes. Watch when he leaves. You just cringe.
I have computer problems. I love that. Immediately, I was like, "Yeah, no, Kent didn't."
Dude, my Charmeleon turned into a Charizard. How does he not care about evolution?
Oh, hey guys, hold on. So apparently we found from David B. Rockin' Music and Anime. There's apparently last year he found an emoji Bible online. I'm curious about this.
That's the definitive version.
Huh?
That's the definitive Bible.
The definitive Bible?
Yeah.
The emoji Bible has arrived. Please tell me this was a joke. Okay.
Anarchist.
Oh, it's apparently a Twitter thing. Yeah, the Bible emoji or something like that. Yeah, that's interesting. What was that?
Anarchist. Whose turn is it to ask questions?
Let's see. Well, midnight hasn't gone yet, so do you have a question, Mid?
I'm not sure. A question to ask. I mean, I don't know. I'm just in here. I mean, I know this is ask Christian analyst. Analyst.
I'm a Christian analyst, y'all.
I don't know. I mean, I can leave if there's no question to ask. I don't know. I was just hanging out.
No, you can hang out, man. You just chill. But if we got someone that wants in and we're full, then that will be the time I'll ask.
Yeah, no problem.
But I'll ask politely. I won't be rude. But yeah, I don't know if Metal is able to be on his mic because I know he said earlier that he was in a meeting or something, or he was at work. All right, so let me see. Metal, you there?
Heyo.
Heyo, how you doing, mate?
Just got a few minutes between jobs.
Well, while you had those minutes in between jobs, do you happen to have any particular question in mind?
Not necessarily, I guess, for you, but I was just kind of wondering how the Prickapay adulterate came up.
Oh, I brought it up.
Yeah, it was a question about I guess it's a thing that what's his name? Dan Barker had used in something that basically, the story of Jesus saying that, he is without sin cast the first stone. No one cast the stone. Basically, the hypothetical was what if some Pharisee went up and said, I am sinless, and started to cast a stone, then what would Jesus do? Kind of question, I guess. So that's where we kind of got into it with that.
I see. Well, first of all, considering anyone with half an ounce of honesty and who isn't a KJV only cultist would admit that is not an original.
Right, and I went over that with him.
Yeah, no, and I agreed with that. I actually had noted that myself. That in all fairness, we have to make a note that not all people accept this portion, and the NIV does make an annotation that it may have not been a correct event, and so that's fine. And I just took it as a hypothetical thing of what did happen. Then what?
Right, and that's why I entertained the hypotheticals if the text was actually real, or if this was actually an event, and then if this hypothetical occurred.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and then I was gonna say, and the other thing after the "don't quote me, bro" incident with Dr. White, quoting Dan Parker on much of anything it comes to Jesus in the Bible, you got to take it with a pound of salt.
A pound or a grain?
No. In his case, it's definitely a pound.
Okay, and Hey, Steve, you got to tell me where he said this whole thing about the
I
argument.
did. Apology. It was Apologeta's video that he had out today. He had Dan Barker as a guest.
Huh. Well then, I'm jealous now of Apologia.
Why?
You getting all them big people on there?
Dan Baker's a guest?
Yeah. Yeah. What? I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's an atheist. I'm a Christian, but still, I mean, it'd be nice if you call me.
He's a guy. I like the video. I mean, he was well spoken. He gave that obviously that argument. I mean, I took that argument and I ran with it. Don't get me wrong. His was a very basal, very simplistic version of it. But I was like, there's something might be more to it than that. Well, let's run with it and see where it goes. And we are going to have a discussion on that on the Great Debate Community channel with Dr. Kenny Rhodes, because he's trying to talk on the phone and it just. You know how you can't really have a good in-depth conversation when somebody's on the mobile. So we're gonna wait and then
sure thing, man. Yeah. All right. So I guess that was Mel's question. Okay, there we go. Preston, did you have a quick question? Keyword being quick.
Yeah, I wanted to know what the evidence of because I've heard people say that people are Christian, like people don't believe in Jesus and they say that he never existed. I would like to know what is the evidence that Jesus actually existed.
Okay, but outside of the Bible?
Yeah, outside of the Bible.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring this up because recently I've been working on some notes for that particular topic. And I was actually going to try to help out, try to debate Pin Valentine on this, and also help out with a Metal Minister on this as well, because I believe there are several different sources that we could come to the conclusion of that there was a historical figure named Jesus. I'm not just going to go simply to Bart Ehrman's book of Did Jesus Exist, because he's an atheist agnostic, but seems to be making the statements that Jesus did exist from a scholarly historical perspective. But hold on a sec. Just saying alone that the majority of scholars believe this doesn't automatically make it true, but it should give you the idea that there seems to be some good evidence at this point. So one of the things I would say, of course, is New Testament documents, but you said, what about outside? Well, we have Josephus' statement in the Jewish Antiquities, which is in Book 18, Chapter 3, Section 3, where it says, "Now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, for he was and I'm going to include some parts because the part is that this seems to be a forgery at and only in certain cases. So I'll just point out this later. If it be lawful to call him a man, for he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Christ. And when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those that loved him and the first did not forsake him. For he appeared to them alive again and on the third day," and he goes on about resurrection story. "And the tribe of Christians, so named from him, are not extinct at this day." So that's the quote. Now the argument is that there's forgeries in here, but in Louis Feldman, in his book, Josephus and Modern Scholarship, and Louis Feldman is considered one of the leading Josephus scholars of our day and age, had basically wrote a book where he goes and interviews and takes a survey of all the Josephus scholars in the field at that time. And he basically gathered that the majority of the scholars in the survey had said that it was only a partial interpolation, but not an entire passage interpolation. Because some say the entire thing is a forgery. But it's only certain passages, like if it be lawful to call him a man, because Josephus is a Jew. If he's going to say if it be lawful to call him a man, or he was the Christ, why would a Jew say that, especially if you're a non-Christian Jew? And why mention the resurrection as well? So those things are then removed in certain other texts and editions. So it's pretty much just saying, Jesus, wise man, doer of wonderful works, teacher of people that received the truth with pleasure. Then talks about Pilate crucifying him. or sending him to be crucified. So you have all these things. I could go more detail about this, but that's for another day. But you also have Tacitus in the Annals, book 15, section 44, where it says the following: to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt of, inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations called Christians by the populace. Christus, which is the Greek for Christ, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate. And a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center and become popular. So we see that Jesus, at least by Christ, is mentioned. But how do we know this is specifically referring to Jesus? Because again, we see that under the reign of Tiberius, which gives us the time, under one of the procurators, which is Pontius Pilate. So we have these whole things being there that point out that from a person that actually had a very negative view towards Christians, seems to indicate, if he really wanted to just, prove that Jesus wasn't existing, he wouldn't even mention or just say that he was a made-up character or a fiction, but points out that this guy actually existed and was crucified. So those are just two documents in regards to the secular perspectives, and are at least Josephus being a first century source on that.
But he wasn't a contemporary of Jesus, though.
No, he wasn't a contemporary, but Josephus was a historian, and just like some people weren't historians, I would say that Socrates existed, but we have nothing of his writings and only words that come from other people down the road, but we still have an agreed consensus on, Socrates being an historical figure, and I'd say the same thing could go for Jesus. You can have your own theory, because like you have the Jesus Seminar that have their own ideas. Like Bart Ehrman says that Jesus was just a typical doomsday preacher that preached that his kingdom was going to be on earth, and that it was going to rule over people. Basically, they just viewed him as a cult leader.
So he was the original Jesus freak before modern Jesus freaks.
Right, kind of like in that kind of case, yeah.
No,
At least that's a theory proposed by some of the people in the Jesus Seminar.
Yeah, I'm not a mythicist. I just don't find any reason to go down that route of mythicism. If you're going to attack the theology or the arguments, that's fine. To try to disprove whether he existed or not, it's just a waste of time to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So no, I'm not a mythicist. I'll concede he probably did exist, or somebody that the story is based upon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, hopefully that answers your question there, Preston.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Okay, we got some new people in here. We have Vincent of the Council of Google Plus.
What's up, guys?
What's up? And it's our favorite penguin, Nate.
What's up?
What's up? All right, so
a bunch of background noise.
No, man. It's cool. Trying to figure out who came in first. Vincent. So Vincent, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, but I got my boys in here and they're being rough. So
I will just come to you later on, man.
I don't really have anything. What are y'all talking about?
It's a Q&A at this point, man. Just whatever you want to make the topic at this point.
I'll do another question, because Midnight had brought up earlier, so why don't we discuss it? From a theological viewpoint, why is agnostic atheism such a weird combination? Why, especially if you're a soft atheist, why is it weird to say agnostic atheist? And if you're a hard atheist, why is it weird? See if you can out there. I already know the answers, but I want to see how you answer.
Well, to me, I wouldn't necessarily think it's a weird combination, because to me, I think an agnostic is an atheist, because simply the term atheist is just a lack of a belief of theism, or it's basically no theism or belief in gods. And agnostic just means of a lack of knowledge kind of concept. So basically, like an I don't know of.
Oh, it's so over between us, CA. I used to love you, but no, it's
What?
over.
What?
That's so. First of all, okay, as an agnostic, I take umbrage of that because I am not an atheist nor am I a theist. Okay, It's
well, at least I'm just going by how I look at it from the dictionary.
Okay,
But you can help explain me there.
But here's the thing with agnostic atheism, why it's weird. First, if you're a soft atheist, right, and soft atheism is you lack a belief. That is true. How do you have an epistemic modification to a non-dosastic claim, right? You have to first have a belief before you can epistemically modify it. So if somebody says, I lack a belief in God, how do they then make an epistemic adjective to that, right? It makes no sense because you're not making a belief claim, right? So soft atheism, you can't say I'm an agnostic atheist. It's nonsensical. For hard atheists, somebody who actually asserts God does not exist, it's redundant. It's superfluous because there's no difference between what a hard atheist would say and an agnostic atheist. If you mean atheist hard, they mean the exact same thing. They're both making a dosastic only position. They're not making a knowledge claim. So that's why when I hear agnostic atheism, I'm like, that's just the strangest thing to my ear. It makes no sense from a soft atheist position. It's redundant for a hard atheist position. The only time I can see it is Apologia makes a small valid point that it clarifies. I mean, it reemphasizes the position of hard atheism, but it doesn't modify anything.
Yeah, for some reason, Keep Like Zemnis just said, he gets it. Midnight is an atheist that likes eggnog.
I'm like, what?
I like eggnog.
Well, I guess it's Steve that's the atheist.
But a little bit of eggnog goes a long way. That stuff's too sweet.
Well, okay. Look, it's the reason why I say that is because I'm agnostic, where I don't know whether a God exists, but I reject all the other ones. The gods I see the gods that humanity believes in as false, but at the same time, I don't know whether one could exist.
But do you understand, Midnight, that when you say you're an atheist, regardless of what version of definitions you use, whether you're a philosophical atheist or a modern new atheist definition, those are still dosastic positions, right? There's nothing related to knowledge when you say atheist. So why do you have to further clarify and say, oh, but I don't know that? An atheist, by saying they're an atheist, is automatically saying they don't know that. That's why it's redundant. Yeah, it provides no epistemic modification whatsoever. And if it's soft atheist, it makes no sense because if you don't hold a belief, how can you warrant it to say that it's not a knowledge claim?
Right.
You can't.
Anyway, so but that's just my thoughts on the whole thing. But I guess I will have to look more into it for Steve as the teacher on the agnostic atheistic thing, just like for James White, Yasser Qadi was the teacher on what shirk was. So anyways,
we got 3 agnostics in the entire community. Let me have my thing, right?
Yeah, at least we'll also give you your eggnog too to go with your agnosticism. Anyways,
I see. Okay, I got the joke.
Yeah, it took me a while to get it too. But anyways, so we'll go into Nate because he hasn't asked or has an opportunity to ask a question yet. So, Mr. Nate, you and your fuzzy little yellow brows, do you have a question?
Yes. Sorry.
Good question.
Yeah, what's your opinion on coffee? Just kidding. Wondering how exactly would you define what hell is? Because a little bit ago I was listening to The Reason for God by Timothy Keller, and he was kind of promoting how Lewis presented hell in The Great Divorce, basically as a place separated from God, but that the fire was more metaphorical of the disintegration that comes with people being so self-absorbed, and that's what hell is.
Yeah, I'm kind of close into that because not just what Lewis has said, but because of the concept of Sheol as well as the language that goes around with it. Because part of it is you see this language of fire, but then you also see this language of darkness. If we're going to take it in a literal sense, then it's a contradictory statement because, as I was telling Justin earlier, if you have fire in an area, but it's supposed to be pure darkness, well, how does that make sense? Because with there's fire, there's light. But when there's darkness, that's pure darkness. There's not going to be any light. So which is it? You know, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it. At least that's the phrase they use. And honestly, I don't like that analogy because if I have my cake, I want to eat it. I mean, who wouldn't want it? I mean, it's cake. It's delicious. But point being, that there seems to be scholarly consensus as well that what's going on and how also the Jews would understand the concept of Sheol is that there's not any concept of these flames and such. And even in the use of the language for when it's casted into the lake of fire, it's just basically this pure separation. That's why we see like the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth. It's they're in that extreme agony of the fact that they're so separate from God. There's nothing they can do, and they realize it's too late, and that they have that separation. That's what that whole thing is about. It's the whole very big mental agony that they have, and the fact that they realize there is that, you know, they've had the chance and that they are no longer without hope at that point. So that's kind of what the language is. If we're reading the entire language of the passages, from the concepts of the fire to the darkness to the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth and the location, all that, if we're going to take that whole thing into consideration, we have to come to the conclusion in what C.S. Lewis kind of describes it as what Tim Keller does as well in the writings, because they seem to have what the Israelites had understood, what the New Testament church understood, what seems to be the scholarly consensus. Again, do I think, but here's another thing I want to make a point as well before wrapping up. Do I think people that believe that there's a physical fire there, do I think that they're very incorrect and that they're going to hell, or that they're, you know, idiots? No, I think there's, again, it's like the kind of thing with evolution and the theistic evolution and the young earth creationist perspective. I think I see where both sides can make a good argument. But it's, you know, one of the middle grounds, as long as we realize the essentials, that should be the focus, ultimately. So, I don't know. Hope that I was able to answer your question there, Nate.
Do you also agree with them that someone in hell would be so self-absorbed that they would not want to leave?
I can imagine at the same time that it's kind of like a conflicting kind of thing where, yeah, it's like a self-absorbed that they would not want to leave either. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problemo, mate. All right. So let's see here. We have a things. Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure it gets, because we got a lot of people in here that have already. Let me check the live chat. Actually.
How long are you going?
Oh, we got 20 more minutes left before we shut down.
If I start a channel, Ask an Agnostic, is that going to infringe upon your channel?
Do I look like the kind of guy that would infringe copyright stuff? Nah, man, you go do what you want to do.
It'll be a very, very boring channel.
Yeah, man. The internet. It's going to be. This is the land of the free. At least it shall be until YouTube starts being too much of a neo-Nazi with its policies. Yeah, and I ain't afraid to say that. See the what's his name? The Alex Jones and me already right there, just saying that kind of stuff. Anyways. All right. We have One Way Apologetics asking who wants to buy all my stuff.
I just want to have it. What did you sell it for? One Way?
He said Jesus. He says Jesus is coming back tomorrow, so I don't need it anymore.
Well, I think he would have been already here if you were on Australia. So
he's talking about that.
Yeah, right. But tomorrow's the 20th. It's already the 23rd in Australia.
Yeah, but he's not in Australia
too. So.
I guess General's gone.
Yeah, General's gone.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. This was one of the first questions I addressed earlier. Is that he didn't say the Earth's going to end that day. He says that something's going to happen apparently.
No, he says it's going to be the rapture. Is what it was.
Not because I looked at also the interviews that were done, and he said that the idea of people saying that he said that it's going to end on that day has been lies and straw mans by the media, and that what he wrote in his actual book is that something big would just happen on that day, but would be like something that leads to what he then says is by the end of October is when this 7-year tribulation period starts or something.
Here's the thing. Of course, it's not going to happen, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, well, our numbers were wrong. Let me recalculate," or "Oh, something happened, but you weren't paying attention." These people are the most dishonest things in the world. I can't believe people buy into this. That is pure dishonesty.
Well, here's what's funny. In fact, I'll see if I can find it. I actually did you know who Tecton TV is?
No.
He's a guy that does these Christian animation things, and he does I think he's like somewhat of a bit of a scholar in cases, and but he did a series or like a little fun animation about different end times prophecies or something that people have tried to make over the years. It's called The Calendar of the End of the World, and I lent my voice to all the different characters from the time periods in there. And I'm gonna leave it in the outer chat on Hangout, Steve, if you want to go check me out in voice acting.
I really don't want to check you out, but I'll watch your thing.
Yeah, but at least this is the only time when I'm not in the abridged voice acting thing. That one's a little more interesting compared to this, but still, point is that I'm adding some kind of humor. But like you see, like Halley's Comet, the Charles Taze Russell, the William Miller guy, the guy that's like founder for the Seventh-day Adventist kind of stuff. What's it? Oh yeah, David Berg in 1972. If you go to that one, Steve, I do a Macho Man Randy Savage impersonation for that character.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Oh crap, my throat went. I did it wrong. Okay, no, you just go back and listen to it because I'm not gonna scare my neighbors off because it's nighttime and they're trying to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, would you agree that historically, every prophecy of Jesus' return has been wrong?
Well, so the people that try to claim they know when it's going to come, and again, this is why I said, what Meadow said, Matthew 26:31. If I'm just getting off the top of my head, but the verse says, "No one knows the day or the hour of when the Son of Man returns, not even the angels, not even the Son, only the Father."
You agree, though, right?
I agree. Yeah, Okay. To say that when it's going to happen or that you're going to make predictions is ridiculous.
So that even as Gnostic, I can think that scripture is pretty well cut and dry. I don't really know any other way to interpret that. So if a Christian claims they're a Christian, how are they so easily duped? If that's basically, I mean, that's what it says. I don't know how else you interpret it. How do they start believing?
It's basically an emotionalism kind of thing, and I think this would go for other kind of cultic groups, is that they have to deny and reinterpret what other passages or something really say at that point. For example, like Seventh-day Adventists try to take the old prophecy in Daniel 8:14 where it says, "And the prophecy will be filled or something within 2,300 days." Their explanation of that is, well, there's this concept of the day to year principle whenever prophecy is mentioned. So we just have to make it 2,300 days to 2,300 years. And
when they start jumping through hoops like that, it's like, I'm done.
Yeah. Again, that's one of the other good fallacies and errors that the Seventh-day Adventist churches have done. But yeah, that's basically it. So I think it's mostly an emotionalism or a tradition thing that they focus on for the thing. I just try to focus on what the Bible says, and if there's anything that contradicts what my tradition and human understanding has understood of it through in my past, then I have to go for what the Bible says on the matter. Just like, the tradition of understanding that, the yom can only mean 24-hour period days in the text. Whereas the actual Hebrew yom can mean various things and could fall under that context within the surrounding Hebrew text. I then have to go with just for the sake of the reason why I take the view I have on the days is because, Scripture, not any man reason. Otherwise, I would have just simply go with 24-hour period days.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's I've looked into that, and I think it's pretty well clear that yom with an article and without an article mean two different things. One's means sun up to sundown, the other one's an indefinite period of time. I think that's ubiquitous among every scholar that I've read so far on that. So I'm okay with that depth, with that understanding of it.
Yeah, but apparently,
so I got to rely on the scholars. But I mean, I haven't seen anybody say that's wrong. So
wait,
By
hold
the
on,
way-
hold on a second. Okay, yeah, apparently sister just left. Apparently was saying she was still in the hangout. I don't know what was up with
I
that.
still see her. Oh, there she's gone now.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe she probably going to take some sleep at this point. But yeah, apparently, but someone said in the thing they'll take the one-way stuff for the free price of free $59. No one laughed at that. I knew that wasn't going to go out well.
By the way, Newton predicted the world would end in 2060.
Huh?
Sir Isaac Newton predicted the world would end in 2060.
Again, 2060. That's a long ways to go. We'll see if he was right.
I think it had something to do with.
What happens tomorrow if there was like a major event, like a super volcano blew up or a meteorite hit the Earth? Everybody be like, oh, "This guy was right."
That's the thing.
That's going to happen one day. I'm telling you right now, it's probably going to happen one day because the odds are, when people make so many silly predictions, that one of them something's going to happen just by the law of large numbers or something. Well, it's not technically a law of large numbers, but just by probability that something's going to happen. So that one time you get one thing right, you could be famous. So what I would do, CA, is every time I go on air, you would go on air, make a prediction for the next day, and then delete all the other videos. Just keep that one. You'll be famous.
Yeah. But no, like I actually saw some interesting video from this WWUTT, the What channel, and they fought. To me, this falls under one of the categories of there's different kinds of false prophecies out there. There's bonkers kind of people. There's just very interesting things, like apparently from Charisma magazine saying, when the sneaky squid spirit starts stalking you. Blandishments, just some weird stuff, like saying when you worship
Sneaky
God.
Squid spirits.
Yeah. I don't know. Charisma News has some weird stuff. But yeah, then there's one saying, while you're worshiping God, he just changed your whole financial situation. And I don't know who that's for, but I'm rejoicing it's probably one of those college students. Again, I'm just reading some of the stuff on here. Then there's people like Cindy Jacobs, which is what I think it's kind of going through with this is saying, something the Holy Spirit has spoken to us. So the word of the Lord for 2017 is the breakthrough year. Very exciting. But that could mean literally anything.
Sounds like astrology to me.
Yeah.
Just throw out a bunch of things, see what sticks.
Yeah, so pretty much it's like and there's this one guy that I've seen have some of his like Bible exegesis videos, but apparently that he started making these like crazy ones that add on to this conspiracy that's going around or this prophecy thing. It's like, now I don't know what's going to happen on September 23rd, but whatever it is, it's going to be something big for the nation of Israel. Because can you be a bit more specific about what's going to be big in Israel, please?
Well, what happens if like the example of North Korea launched an atomic bomb and detonated a hydrogen bomb in the Pacific? Would that qualify as an event that this guy predicted?
That, like I said, yeah, they'll take anything.
They will twist anything to their.
Yeah. I agree.
See, I told you.
Heck, if Steve's channel gets taken down, maybe David Meade will find Steve's channel. Is like, see, his channel just disappeared out of nowhere.
Many have tried to take down my channel. They've not succeeded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know one person.
September 25th.
For the sake of some of the people in here, I know one person that tried to take down your channel. But he or she will not be named, though. No, I'm not mentioning any names. I know quite a few that have tried it. They've all failed miserably. I've had to respond to messages from YouTube, and I've done so legalistically, and they said you're right, and that was it. And I'm like, I know, I know how to handle this stuff. Yeah. And by the way, I mean, I think that if you have to go
to YouTube, or you have to flag something, or you have to take a legalistic means to shut down a channel because you don't like the content, you shouldn't be on YouTube yourself, because that's just cowardy, just pure cowardice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, so I see we got a couple of.
I would agree. I mean, that's thought police at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because people get accused of all the time, like, oh, you don't want this channel to exist and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I spent an hour helping Nephew get online the other day. My arch nemesis, as far as like, you know, all this stuff. I can't stand anything he says, but I'm not going to, he wants to get back on the internet and he needs help. I'm still going to help him get it back on. Plus I find it entertaining, but you know, it's like, we don't want, hey, that's too much entertainment value.
Great.
Now, Christian Anarchist we're scared of. That's his channel. Yeah, we need to make that. We make the Illuminati need to make that like disappear.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah. No, actually, no.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Something was going on with my computer. It was lagging up there.
Because you're an Illuminati shill, right, CA?
Huh?
You're an Illuminati shill. See, he doesn't deny it.
Trying to figure out what's going on here with my. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it was like almost like I was about to break down and crash. So I don't know. Hopefully, nothing bad happened with the live stream there. Okay, there we go. All right, so we got 10 minutes before we take this over to the Discord after party. So if y'all want to go in and join, y'all have about 10 minutes before we kick it on over there and get ready for everything in the Ask Christian Anarchist Discord, where we hopefully shall see some of you wonderful folks.
You know, they're adding video and sharing it soon on that. So probably that's what we're going to be doing most of our stuff on, because it's so customizable.
I'll probably do that if they when they make that and I understand how to use the X split or whatever that thing is, then probably.
You need to get with Brian Forbes. Yeah, I know you already have, but once we get everything set up, man, he'll set you up.
All right, I'll get Brian and Steve because they both have wonderful beards.
This is the beard of necessity.
Oh man, I am offended. Mine's pretty good.
Yeah, look at that beard.
This beard can be no other way.
That's nothing.
Oh, great! It's a beard off. I know it. There we go.
I rounded the corners of mine.
Oh, that's nice. No, I used to have the full thing, but you know what? It was too itchy, and yeah, I'm glad that I actually trimmed it down.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I'm gonna try to see if I can find something to do for November. I'm gonna do No Shave November, and hopefully, if I can get with somebody, we can. I'm gonna try to do like some kind of cause.
You got like 3 facial hairs.
CA, you know they sell cans of fake hair. You can just
you have to go there. You're gonna have to go there. CA, sorry. Yeah.
No, I know it's gonna be terrible. If y'all seen the last time I tried doing the No Shave November thing, oh dear Lord, I was glad to have that off of me. It was like a giant caterpillar trying to.
You got to get past a certain stage, and then it's a lot better. But there's some rough stages. There's like 2 or 3 rough stages in growing a beard.
Yeah, I'm not trying to grow a beard. I don't want a beard personally.
I actually like the first. If you shave everything, the first like 5 days of growing like a goatee, I think that style looks really good. But like you said, it's awkward. But
yeah, it gets to the point where it loops around and starts itching your own self, and it gets miserable. But you got to get past that.
But when I had the full beard, I mean, it was just. I had the whole thing, and it was just very, very itchy, and it wasn't really what I was looking for. You know, this makes me look, a little bit different. Character.
Wait,
even though.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Hang on a second. I gotta test this out because Zemnis just made an interesting point. So let's test that hypothesis. So let me take my one of the pictures from my deal. So right here. All right, so I'm gonna screen share it for all of you people. We're gonna test a theory that we have. Okay, so Zemnis says if you flip the CA photo upside down, it will make a triangle with the chin, and the face has eyes. Illuminati's. Okay, let's test this. All right. Which way? Rotate right. All right.
What are we?
He's right.
Illuminati confirmed.
It's a cipher.
Undeniable proof.
Undeniable proof right here, folks. Let me present to everyone. Y'all can see it
Undeniable
right there.
Proof.
But
undeniable proof.
characters have chins that cut that knife-like chins.
Yeah, right there, folks. For y'all apparently want to see it. Johnny KZJ was right. Rose Patton was right.
I'm telling the vigilant quick.
Right. Grant Campbell was right, everybody. I am the Illuminati.
I like mine slightly rounded.
Oh,
nice.
What I'm drawing on right now.
Oh wait, is that my drawing thing or is that someone else's?
No, I'm just doodling while we talk.
Yeah, I was about to say because I remember I asked you if you could do me a drawing.
I will when I fire up Photoshop again.
All right, so you do that, my friend Padre, and at the moment, we have time for one more question.
I got a question.
That's why I was gonna go to because you're the one person that's new in this one. So I'm gonna ask you, what is your question?
My question? My question.
Oh, great. He's going to the Southern accent.
Well, my question is, why did you become a theistic evolutionist? This is nothing like, just interested.
Good question, actually. I don't think anyone's asked me that one here before.
Actually, I did.
Wait. Then.
Well, at least
that proves to you how dumb my memory is.
Or at least I asked you when did you?
How fallible his memory is. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, how fallible it is. Yeah. But now, what? Yeah, I kind of became it because when I was looking at the Bible after I, got saved, I kind of believed the idea just simply Earth was made in 6 literal days because that's what the Bible says. But then when I actually went to the text and started studying it, I finding some interesting things. And of course, this coincidentally happened to be around the time that we started evolution classes in biology. And this was also the first time that it ever happened for me to be taught about evolution, as far as my memory is concerned. And this was in senior year of high school. So, Guy had to say, now just so y'all know, the concept of evolution as taught by Darwin does not have anything to say about the existence of God or attack anything involved in religion. It is simply a scientific theory and revolves around those statements. You can work with that as what you want and make whatever observations you want afterwards involving, your faith and such. But just letting you know, it makes no statements about religion. And so, kind of made that whole thing. So I started looking into that, and then I started looking into the Bible. So ultimately, I became a theistic evolutionist at first from the liberal perspective, just simply saying, metaphorical thing. But I think I took the true perspective when I started realizing and reading the Bible for what it says, and note that it's about what the text says. And that if I am convicted by the Holy Spirit in my judgment of reading this text in the same way Martin Luther was during the concept of, justification by faith alone, and that the idea of those indulgences are nothing but bull crap. If I had that same kind of understanding, then I think, may God judge me if I'm wrong for my view at the end of the day. That's pretty much it, is that I came to the reading of the scriptures and did as much exegesis as I can, from even going to the original languages and the scholars to understand this deeper, and then trying to go back and read the text final. And it all just started making sense. So at least in my understanding of it. So yeah, that would be kind of where it starts sometime after I'd learned about it in senior year of high school. But of course, that was the liberal, everything's a metaphor approach. Whereas later on, I think about a year later or two, I start taking the more conservative approach on the issue.
Did you watch the video we had this morning, Christian, on Biddle's book? It was called Debunking Evolution, What Every Christian Student Should Know.
Who?
A guy named Daniel, I think his name's Dan Biddle or something. Yeah, I think it's Daniel Biddle. But he
I saw the stream was going on. I didn't care to see it.
You saw my stream was going on. You didn't even bother to come by, and
I was at
no,
work.
No. That's not cool, man. That's
I was at work.
I don't want to hear your excuses.
Hey, I
Unless
can go
you're
watch
dead,
it now.
and even then, you better be watching from above or below, whatever you end up, depending on who you ask. But yeah.
Oh, for goodness sake, my desk is falling apart. This wheel keeps coming off.
What is he saying? He's mumbling.
Huh? Can you hear me?
Oh, now?
Yeah. Yeah, my desk is a wheel that keeps falling off on my desk.
Is the audio cutting out or just me?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, maybe it's just me.
Nope, not at all.
Let me refresh. 1 sec.
All right. So while he's refreshing, I want to just let y'all people know about Steve McCrae's Twitter. You can check him out on Twitter at literally Steve McCrae, and there's an underdash right there, of course. But yeah, I mean, if you want to follow him, he is the founder of the Great Debate Community on YouTube. You want to check out some debates and other good content, feel free to check out Steve McCrae's glorious page there and follow him up on Twitter. He'll get updated.
I hear you now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I sound good.
You sound great, dude. Oh, awesome.
But yeah, like you can go to his page and check out all the stuff on here, and you'll be updated when videos are going on and live streams are starting in the Great Debate Community. So go check him out.
Don't forget, I got another page. Wait, do you want to show the Great Debate Community page? Might as well.
Oh yeah, just go ahead and post that, and I'll share that as well. Yeah, we're about just to let everyone else know we're about to wrap up soon. So if y'all want to head to the Discord and get ready, feel free to do so. But yeah, let me get this. Oh wow!
Yeah, I just updated this and it didn't come out right, so I got to fix this. But it's
well, we got stuff to deal with in the meantime. Let me just present. All right, so yeah, a new Great Debate page, greatdebatecommunity.com. So right here you have all this stuff here. It's still being worked on though.
Yeah, no, it's actually complete, but I screwed up with the layout there, and I'll fix it tomorrow.
Yeah, but right here you have like theology, general discussions. So kind of like, so you have theology. What's this? Deborah McTark.
You know her. That's heretic.
Oh yeah, the Beyond Trailer Park. Interviews. What's in here? Rachel Oates, Aaron Raw, and Atheist Edge. So yeah, all the stuff is organized also on here. So yeah, feel free to go check out the greatdebatecommunity.com website, and you can get involved there. I only participated in one thing similar to it, and that was a debate I had with Marshall Mathers on the issue of if Jesus is God, which I think honestly is a topic that I don't think I'll ever ask Steve of that, because I honestly I think that there were times you're like, why the heck am I moderating a debate like this?
It wasn't a topic. No, dude, let me clarify. I want to modify your. I want to moderate your debates. It had nothing to do with the topic, and it had nothing to do with you. It had to do with him. He is just. I'm not going to say, but you know what I'm talking about, right? He is.
I know he called you and everyone else a racist, apparently.
Yeah, among other things. He is just a despicable person, and I really don't want anything to do with him. So I don't mind any of the debate stuff. I think it was fine, but he's just not a person I want to have around.
Good point. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe I am interested, and I'm gonna do some more homework and research before I decide if I can ask if I would like to debate Aaron Raw on Jesus mythicism on your channel.
No, I mean, again, I don't find it to be that big of a deal one way or another, but I mean, if people want to discuss it, I'm fine with that. It's not my call, but yeah.
You could be like the Matt Dillahunty in the debate then, like with
Shoot, 1 sec.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so yeah, that's all the time we got for the Ask Christian Anarchist stream. Thank y'all for joining in. We did a good run, and hopefully we answered a good bit of y'all's questions. And if you want to check us out, we're gonna take this over to the off-air portion on the Discord. So go to the YouTube link where it says the description where it says Discord for Ask CA questions and off-air. Just click on that link and it should take you in there, because apparently I see that some people have joined, because I didn't remember who Lucky Me was in the beginning, so I assumed he just had joined. But yeah, if y'all want to head on in and we get y'all set on in, then I don't know why I just went all full Southern at that point. So yeah. Anyways, so we're going to end it here. But until then, this has been the Christian Anarchist. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be upon you. So I wish that upon you. Have a good day.